Today we are going to discuss one very unusual person, Sadhguru. One of his books is titled Mystics or Mistakes. His idea is that you are either a mystic or a mistake, this or that. Surely, he assumes himself to be a mystic, and most people are mistakes. And he says mistakes can be mystics. So that is one of the things he wants to say. So it assumes some kind of complete disjunction between mistakes and mystics. But my idea is that a person can be a mystic and also can be a mistake. Okay. And now I think Sadhguru himself is an example of this. He is both a mystic and also a mistake. Maybe let me explain first why I regard him as a mystic. First. I noticed in his speeches there are indeed some very unusual insights which are typical of mysticism. I worked a lot on these issues, so I could recognize mysticism is about getting certain connections between consciousness, mind, self, memory, a mystic has a deeper understanding of them. He is not simply a scholar, not simply a one who quotes books, but there should be a deeper understanding on the link between these two, on this process. And I noticed that Sadhguru may make some statements which are factually incorrect, exaggerations, but he gets these connections right. That is my understanding. For example, he never equates consciousness with mind. He never equates consciousness with memory. He knows that mind is different from consciousness. people equate themselves with their minds. He has very clear grasp of these things. I really admire him for that. So we should be proud of him, and I'm happy that he goes out and doesn't confine to religion, comments on various issues, has dialogue with students, with celebrities, promoting religious consciousness, promoting spirituality. All these things, I think, are positive things. Okay. So that is a good aspect. But then, I understood that a mystic is not free from prejudices. In my understanding, a mystic knows certain things, but many things come from old background, prejudices. Some people have the idea, not some people, most people have the idea that something like enlightenment is absolute knowledge. That is not true. Absolute wisdom. That is not true. Enlightened people are prone to errors, prejudices, and they are not free from the ideas of some of the ideas of their times. Buddha's ideas on rebirth soul are conditioned by his times. That is not the result of his enlightenment. Those views came from his age. Krishnamurti may say he is free from conditioning, but we see a lot of conditioning in him, in his reaction to the word Guru. So it is not true that even if a person is enlightened, he represents ultimate wisdom, ultimate knowledge. It is enlightenment seems to be a process of identification with, rather than mind, with consciousness. About those processes. Enlightenment doesn't really give solutions to the world. Okay. Or to all the problems of the world. Now let us come back to Sadhguru. He shows the understanding of these connections. But then, his answers are full of many prejudices. He usually justifies tradition without looking at it critically and puts all kinds of pseudo-scientific claims, which he didn't need to. But I think these are his old prejudices. But all those things are one thing. And his defense of Hindutva project is a different thing. In fact, I wanted to talk about these things after watching his answer to Citizenship Amendment Act. I found his support to the bill is completely unwarranted and unjustified. Let us see the political context in which he is doing this. It is a kind of a summary of what the nation is. Number one, you have people who have become extremely good at winning elections. A part of strategy is polarization. Through polarization, they are in a position to win elections. Vulnerabilities of democratic system are being effectively exploited, became masters in winning elections, and then use institutions in variety of ways to get things done. Exclusion of Rajya Sabha to pass Aadhaar bill, which has serious implications to privacy. So they can check out institutions and they can use institutions to get things done. For example, Masjid was demolished and temple will be constructed. There is no punishment to the people who demolished that masjid. In fact, those who played a role in the demolition process are given the role in constructing a temple. How could this be possible? And then, without any legal and constitutional validity, simply huge constitutional changes can be taken and rights can simply be taken away. No opposition. And then people who are born and brought up here, lived here for decades, can be sent to detention centers in NRC. So, and then when they cannot use the formal institutions, they will use informal institutions or pressure groups or their own groups to silence the critics, to muzzle the press. So, state has become very fearsome. There is fear all around. And it is in this context Sadhguru gives support in terms of religion. So this is not like supporting tradition, not like explaining things in terms of science. This is something much more dangerous. Probably for the first time, mystic is turning to be a danger to the society. It's a very, 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 very rare thing. I don't think if Sadhguru is only a mistake, or I think if Sadhguru is only a mystic and not a mistake, people who are wedded to Savarkar's ideology would come anywhere near him. Because mysticism and enlightenment, as I understand, is so completely different from Savarkar's ideology. What is Savarkar's ideology? There is first ego enlargement. My ego becomes my religion, my nation. Ego enlargement. Next, ego intensification, consolidation, and this leads to exclusion, and this leads to hatred. That's what Savarkar's ideology is. But enlightenment or mysticism is a different process. In fact, enlightenment is an anti-identity process. It is an anti-identity process. It is non-identification with self, with mind. With mind or ego, because of which there is supposed to be a dilution of it, and in the end, dissolution. And this dissolution of self, at least, supposed to be foundation for inclusion, foundation for compassion. Savarkar's ideology leads to hatred. Enlightenment is supposed to lead to compassion. So, where do you place Sadhguru's enlightenment, Sadhguru's mysticism in this? And people say that under BJP rule, idea of India is under threat, democracy is under threat. But I think even that is an understatement. It is not simply idea of India and democracy in India is under threat. I think Hinduism itself is under threat. Is under threat. Hindus all over the world are under threat. Hinduism will get bad name. Hindus all over the world they will not get good name. I would say the things that happened in Islam, exclusion, fanaticism, unfortunate developments that happened to Islam, are now brought to Hinduism. And Sadhguru seems to be supporting this. I don't think he has any clue to the enormity of the danger. How could he do these things? As he himself says, is uneducated. Sadhguru is supposed to mean uneducated guru, it seems. The lack of education is the source of many of his prejudices. In that speech on Citizenship Amendment Act, which Prime Minister endorsed, he makes so many mistakes. It is difficult to identify 3-4 consecutive sentences without seeing one major error, and a serious one at that, without any clue to history. Full of errors. Take for example, he casually says India was one and got divided. India was one and got divided. Probably Sadhguru thinks it is an obvious fact, but it is not really true. If India was one and if India was old, how did Gandhi become father of nation? Definitely, India is younger than Gandhi. What does it mean? India as a nation is a construct. There was no India at one time. There was Hinduism, there was Islam, there was caste system. Britishers came, put so many people under one rule, some of them princely states with lot of independence, sovereignty, some kind of control system. So it was an artificially created, and then there was an effort to make India into a nation. It is not that India was a nation and then it was divided. Nation was a construct. The man who is supposed to know self is a construct, is missing that nation, is a very, very crude form of construct. The man who is supposed to know that self as a source of identity, is a source of conflict, hatred, misses that the most important division is nation, and so much of hatred is being generated around nation. So, his insight in matters of self are not coming into political sphere because of many prejudices and lack of education. And then he says that India chose to be secular, and then Jinnah chose to be two-nation theory on the basis of religion. Again, that is a big mistake. Jinnah was not opposed to secularism of India. Jinnah wanted secular Pakistan and secular India. But Jinnah feared majoritarianism of India. Jinnah feared Hindu domination. Jinnah did not fear secularism of India. This idea that the Jinnah wanted something else and India believed in secularism is false kind of history taught to people, and Sadhguru took it. Jinnah was opposed to domination, not opposed to secularism. So the speech is full of errors like this. So I don't see his psychological insight coming into political matters and really enlightening the people regarding how a political system should be created. So let us see what a mystic should do. If you ask me, if a person is a mystic, he should first understand the amount of nonsense that is there in any religion. Any religion contains a lot of garbage. A mystic should understand and explain that it contains so. And then some of it becomes poison. Why does religion contain nonsense? Some people thought in a particular way, and that becomes part of religious literature. What they thought was partly outdated, or what they thought was wrong even then. So it contains nonsense. And when some people take that nonsense so seriously and want to impose on others, it becomes poison. But religion also has certain great ideas. Great ideas. And what should a mystic do? Mystic should explain this and this. And he should explain the relevance of these ideas to the contemporary times. That's what mystic should do. Some people want to make India a great nation, more so, Hindu nation. First of all, a mystic should not get into India and Hindu, my nation and my religion. That's nonsense. But then people come to him saying that we want to make it a great Hindu nation. But so what should he explain? What should he say? I believe the insight from religion should be given to solve a problem creatively. Great ideas of religion should be used. What are those great ideas in Hinduism? I think Advaita. How can Advaita be used to solve Kashmir problem? What is the relevance? That is how a religious person should pursue. If identity is the source of problem, even at an individual level, what kind of problems does nationalism bring? If identity is the source of ignorance, even for an individual, how will it generate ignorance at a collective level? If identity can be dissolved, is supposed to be dissolved, what does it mean to the collective entity? I think a religious person should make people think like that. I don't believe religion is something confined to meditation and renunciation. It has the capacity to solve things in an unusual way. If problems are solved in such a creative way, then people from other countries, intellectuals from other countries will wonder, how did India solve this problem? It says it used its religion. How? I would say that makes Hinduism a great religion. That makes India a great nation. Not using economic power, muscle power to force undemocratic outcomes. That doesn't enhance the stature of India, doesn't enhance the stature of Hinduism. So, this whole movement that is going on now is something that not only India will be ashamed of, but Hinduism will be ashamed of. And it is a tragedy that Sadhguru is lending support to this. I wish he would remain only a mystic and not a mistake. Thank you for listening.